Yeah, hi. My name's Neil Powell, and I work at SweetEst together with Eva. Uh, Today, I just wanted to give you a short introduction into soft systems thinking and introduce a tool called 2Cages that I hope will be useful for you in your change projects. And we'll be running an exercise during a workshop at the beginning of February. So I'm just going to very briefly in about 15 minutes, introduce the tool and give you a little bit of a background so that you understand how to use it. And I hope that you maybe can think about it before the workshop so we can dive straight into things. So I'm just going to share some slides now so that you can see this. So hopefully you're seeing the correct slides. And my background is very much in action research. That was not meant to be the title, but you sort of happened to get that anyway, and you can see my address below if you need to contact me in the meantime before the workshop. I'm actually showing the wrong slides here, so I'm going to stop sharing. And see if I put the correct ones on this time. They look correct this time. So just to give you a bit of a background in terms of systems, I think we've all been trained into a particular perspective in terms of our thinking about systems and our thinking about science in particular. And we're fueled with certain assumptions when we go through the university system. One being that we are in a position to identify the different types of systems involved and actually put boundaries around them. And indeed, there is a desirable state for any particular system. And we can use our methods and the tools we have within science to define this state and, in fact, determine how we're actually going to achieve it, how we're going to bring about those transformations or changes to achieve it. I'd just like to present one small case study now to illustrate what I'm talking about here. A case study that we ran when I was working at the Stockholm Environment Institute, and we were funded by the EU to run a mangroves project in several countries in Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, which I'm just going to talk about. At the time of the project, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Vietnam had just put aside a lot of money to work with mangrove rehabilitation and restoration. And their perspective was, in terms of that system, that they could reintroduce mangroves into many areas along the coastline as a way of preventing coastal erosion. And the picture you see here is the very exposed coastline in the South China Sea. This picture is taken at the mouth of the Red River Delta. And as you can see here, it's extremely exposed, and regularly typhoons occur in the area, and you can imagine the storms that will roll in to this coastline, a very exposed coastline that actually once had mangroves there before they were cut down. At the back side here of the picture, if you look inland, you have a dike, and then you have the Red River Delta's rice paddies, and the Red River Delta is considered to be one of the world's major rice baskets. And when there's some major storms in the South China Sea and there's no mangroves, then waves roll in, often breaking the dike and introducing a lot of saline water into the system, which is obviously not good for rice production. Historically, a lot of these mangroves have been cut because of the fish farm industry, which you see here in the background. And there's been major changes in this particular system because of the fish farming and, of course, the cutting of mangroves. This is what a system would look like if it was intact in terms of the mangroves, and you can see that they could really act as a sort of barrier, in a sense, to storms and the intrusion of water. So we've mentioned a couple of interests. We've mentioned the rice interests, we've mentioned the fish farmers, but also where you have the local communities who live in the area and have been historically very dependent on mangroves for various interests. Mangroves host incredible aquatic biodiversity, and the local communities have been rather dependent on that for their livelihoods. You can also see another potential interest in the area in this case, you have what seems to be hotel blocks in the background. They are in fact homes for swallows, and mangroves provide a very important habitat for swallows, and swallows produce birds' nests, and birds' nest soup is a real delicacy and fetches sort of major and it's a major financial win in the particular area. So in this particular case, it becomes very difficult to talk about what we talk about in science, sort of achieving a desirable system, because in this case, different stakeholders see different systems. And they have different vulnerabilities. And it's therefore necessary to, in this case, co-create a transformation that is acceptable for these, what are seemingly diverging interests in the system. And I don't know why all these slides occur here, but I think this picture perhaps depicts a little bit the different sense-making perspectives when it comes to systems and how we govern different systems. And historically, we've really, when we don't see a system as a complex system or as a wicked system, science has orchestrated what is often called a reductionist perspective on things, where we analyze the specific components of the system, and depending on what sort of scientist you are or what discipline you're coming from, you will focus on a particular system, whether it be fish farming, whether it be agriculture and rice paddy production, if it's biodiversity, etc. And although it may be a useful perspective to optimize around a single